Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. It's all about faking it till you make it, right?
100%.
All right, so this is for Clementine and Otis. All right, this episode is brought to you by Kingpin Skate Supply. Go to kingpinstore.com, that's KINGPINSTORE.com, and check out their range of skateboard decks, hardware, wheels, apparel, and shoes, man. They've got shoes for days. Like, oh, man, I can't go in there without buying a pair of shoes. Especially some sick skate shoes. They've got Adidas, Nike, Vans, loads of Vans. So get on it. That's kingpinstore.com. And while you're at checkout, use promo code THT and you'll get a 15% discount. So yeah, don't pay full price. Like, get the 15% discount and use the THT code. Kingpin do free shipping for orders over $25 within Australia, and they have fast shipping worldwide. Also, a shout out to Crush Organics CBD oils and topicals. I love this company. They're so good. Their CBD oil is organic. It's the cleanest CBD oil I've ever used. So if you go to their website, crushorganics.com, that's KRUSHORGANICS.com, and suss out their range. It's just the best stuff for recovery, reducing inflammation, relaxation. But for me personally, like, it's just made such a huge difference to my sleep, and it's actually got me into like a really good sleep pattern. Now, I have a monkey mind, you know, my mind's tick, 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 and then when the lights go out and I hop in bed and I'm alone with my thoughts, man, that's when it really starts. And I just find the CBD oil just helps me to mellow and just take that edge off. I will add that there's no THC in these products. There's no psychoactive ingredient. So if you're at crushorganics.com, use the code THT. You'll get 40% off and you'll be stoked. All right, let's go. Terrible Happy Talks. Terrible Happy Talks.
Yeah. Good to be here, man. Whoa. Dude, I'm
Submissive dominant lifestyle.
3, 2, 1. All right, let's do this. Today's guest is Jack Brown. Jack is an Australian Army veteran. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct, Shan.
Epic. You're so young too. You're such a legend. Student of psychology, president of the Talk to Me Bro Men's Mental Health Initiative, and co-founder of Re-locatable Living. This week, Jake is with me live and in person on my sacred place, the back deck, to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Mr. Jack Brown, welcome.
Shan, thanks so much for having me, brother. Appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate you. So talk to me, bro. I was going to do that.
Yeah, good. Haven't heard that one before.
So
That's
cheesy,
fantastic,
hey.
No, I love it, bro.
Yeah, look, I'm going to get straight into it because I always like to start strong. Like, why is men's mental health so important to you that you wanted to drive an initiative such as Talk to Me Bro?
Well, it's a long story, actually, Shan. So thanks so much for listening in, guys.
Long.
Okay, no worries. So essentially, in 2018, the day just before Australia Day, actually, I was having a chat with my cousin, who's like my brother. I absolutely love him to bits. I said to him, hey, bro, tomorrow we're having a party. Bring your partner, Christy, amazing lady. There's going to be a few couples. Can you bring a cheese platter? And he turned around and said, yeah, no dramas, brother. Say less, I got you. Anyway, we're all ready to rock and roll. And the next day, I wake up and I get a message from Matty, Big Matty. And he said, hey, bro, I'm not feeling too good. I can't come today. And fuck, that gave me the shits because I thought, where are you going to get a cheese platter on Australia Day? I thought, we're absolutely out of options here. Anyway, something came along, came about, and I was extremely angry and shitty because I thought, fuck, I was pretty keen to see you and stuff like that as you are, when you're mates. But then something came along and I thought to myself, I was writing this message saying, bro, I'm disappointed, this, that. But then something came along and I didn't actually send that text message. I ended up deleting it and I said, hey, bro, all good. If you need anything, let us know. I'm here for you. And that was the last time I spoke to Maddie. A few hours later, I got a call saying, hey, is he with you? And a few hours later, I got a call saying he's passed away. He killed himself. And before that, I wasn't necessarily too into mental health or suicide or anything like that. But that really kind of shook up my world. And from there, I was absolutely distraught. And his incredible wife, Christy, was sitting around and everyone was kind of saying, if only talk to us, if only talk to us. And that's where she came up with this incredible slogan, talk to me, bro. And it was for the pallbearers originally to use, or to wear, better yet, to carry Maddie, just to kind of raise a conversation within that funeral. And from there, everyone loved it. And Christy kind of got together with a few others and said, let's create a program. And from there, we kind of mentored young troubled kids one-on-one. But then we went out to school. Like, I love talking and presenting. It's something I'm really passionate about. And especially after Maddie passed, it's something I was really, I was like, I don't want anybody to feel the way I did. So that's when we started going into schools, workplaces, gyms, and essentially raising awareness, not just around mental health, but on suicide, because that's something that not people don't want to chat about. People want to chat about depression, anxiety, which is fantastic. I love that. But we need...
And it's easier. It's a bit easier. It's a bit safer.
100%. Definitely. And that's why, we thought, well, let's tackle, Christy came up and said, let's tackle suicide. And I thought, that's fantastic. I'm on board. And from there, we presented to, within the first few years, over 5,000, 10,000 people. It'll be about, 5 to 10,000 people we presented to these programs that we created, essentially that, has gone in and been able to raise the conversation and made people feel comfortable to chat about suicide.
Dude, oh man. Okay, so a few things. Firstly, help me out here because, you're right. Suicide is a very delicate issue for a lot of people, especially if you've been touched by suicide in your, circle. Can you give us some strategies for how we can discuss it in a safe way? Is that, do you know what I mean? Because I've heard that, you have to be wary about talking about it too much because it can trigger people. And there's a trigger warning here for anyone who's listening.
100%, Shan. However, what I will say is that talking about suicide, in my experience and just from learning heaps about it and talking to others, talking about suicide actually encourages people to feel safe and to be able to chat about suicide. Because at the moment, what we don't do is we don't talk about suicide and we say, hey, are you okay? And things like that, which is fantastic. But we don't ask that question, such as to your friend, hey, are you thinking of killing yourself? Are you suicidal? When you get asked that question, for me, myself, and I'll talk a bit later about it, I actually went down a really dark path after Maddie had passed away to a point where I was suicidal. And I was very, very fortunate that I had friends and family that had asked me point blank, are you thinking of killing yourself?
But is that okay? I mean, because I've heard that, does that place the idea in the person's head?
No, I can squash that right now.
Thank you.
So
dispel.
100%. So no, look, and it's never 100%. Nothing is ever 100%.
Okay.
However, I'd go 99.9 because what it does, in my experience and working with people, hundreds if not thousands now over the years of people that are suicidal, it makes them feel comfortable to be able to open up and go, oh fuck, I'm not being judged about being suicidal. Oh, I can have a chat. Well, yeah, I am suicidal. Oh, okay, no dramas. And being able to have those judgmental free conversations around real people gives that person a really, really good chance of coming through the other end of it.
And make them feel less isolated.
100%, because, the key to that is connection. A reason a lot of people, in my experience, go towards suicide is that lack of connection and that lack of feel. And that's what's being provided when you go and turn around and be like, hey, are you thinking of killing yourself? And that's actually something we talk about and try and educate within our programs. It's okay to talk about suicide. We need to talk about it more often because it's not going to place the idea in someone's, and that's just not the gospel to Jack. That's in a lot of studies and peer-reviewed articles and other things that would suggest that talking about it isn't going to encourage someone to do it. It's actually going to break that stigma, make them feel comfortable, and if they are, you can actually try and do something about that and try and either, conversation or get them the support they need if they are there and then and they are suicidal.
Yeah, man. Totally. And I've been touched by suicide in my life. So I've had a friend and also a cousin of mine take their own life.
Sorry to hear, brother.
That's okay. And it's the feelings afterwards are really indescribable. And you sort of touched on it. And I do want to go into it a little bit more because I think for me, the first thing that came up was like, "Oh, I wish I said more, or I should have called them, or, you know," and I really think of a conversation, my last conversation with my cousin, where she was talking about a tree that she wanted to save that was getting cut down, you know, and she was kind of rambling a little bit. And I remember I hung up the phone and I was like, oh man, she's losing her shit. I don't know what she's carrying on about. It's just a stupid tree. But I didn't realize that she was literally, you know, on the edge, you know. And so I think, I mean, I often replay that conversation and I wish that I maybe just had a little bit more kindness and a little bit more empathy in that situation, and maybe try to scratch the surface a little bit more.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that,
That's
brother,
fine,
but
yeah.
I suppose my experience and from working with, like, I'm a massive advocate for peer work, like helping out with lived experience. I'm also a fan of, you know, psychologists and mental health professionals. They're fantastic. I suppose the work that I done on myself afterwards was to understand and accept what has happened, and that no matter what I said or did was going to stop that. Because at the end of the day, people are only responsible for their own actions. You can't change what they wanted to do or anything, because I spent months after that in a rut, just that cycle of I should have sent this text, I should have called, I should have done this. The should have's a fucking useless. Can we swear on this?
No.
Okay.
I'm joking.
I was like, I'm in trouble.
Everything's been said on here.
Okay, cool.
Everything.
Okay, cool. So, like, you know,
I'm joking, sorry.
yeah, no, that's cool, man. And that's kind of, you know, how I felt, man, to be honest with you. But then once I kind of got that help that I needed to be able to guide me, I understood more that I'm at peace with it. There's nothing I can do, but what I can do is do my best. And if that's good enough, fantastic. But if it's not, that's nothing I can do.
Yeah, man, and I feel you. I really feel that, and I want to sort of highlight a and I think we're all up to speed with the statistics, especially around men's mental health. Like, men are just overrepresented in mental health, just epidemiology in every single area. I mean, and the main ones like depression, anxiety, suicide. Like, so one of the most recent pieces of information I found about men's suicide is that I think it's men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide than women.
Correct, yeah.
Right, and also there's another really interesting one where men have reported that in the last 12 months, 10.8% of Australian men reported in the last 12 months that they've suffered from a persistent and ongoing depression. But anyway,
Yeah, so constant, essentially.
and persistent mild depression. So I guess my question to you is, and I'm really rambling here, in your opinion, why do you think this is the case for men? Why are we suffering from persistent and ongoing depression?
I think it's just because of currently the stigma around, if you were to, I'll tell you what, I'll ask you, how would you describe a man? What's a man to you, Shan?
Okay.
Maybe not the modern, like, you seem like you're more
Woke?
Yeah, I didn't want to use that word, but yeah, fuck it, woke. You seem more woke. So, like, what would you say, though? What would you say a typical bloke would say to describe a man?
Tough.
What else?
Yeah. Strong.
Provider.
Yeah. Also, good with the ladies.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Would you say vulnerable?
Well, that's not the first word that comes up.
Why?
Because is it regarded as weakness?
100%.
You know?
And this is where we are. So, because like males and females both have their own struggles, differently, and they're both equally as hard. So I'm not discounting that. But from a male standpoint, and from my experience of seeing a lot of different males struggling, it's because when you don't want to be seen as weak. Because if you do break down and have a cry, or if you are struggling, and it's visible that you're seen as weak, and you can't be that. You got to maintain that strong. Nothing can affect me, and that's why I've experienced that with Maddie. Because he was that guy that was tattooed, big guy, never seemed like there was anything wrong, but in the inside he was dying before he died.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to change within Talk to Me Bro, and within the mental health, like just in Australia, is you can be all those things, but why can't you be vulnerable as well?
So you're kind of saying it's like societal stereotypes are the key underlying issue.
Yeah, definitely, because there's expectations, I feel, that are held on guys to be able to be strong, be the providers, and old stereotypes that, in my opinion, are bullshit.
Exactly. And here's a question for you. Do you think like men are confused about what their role is now in a family? because I think there's a real blurred line in our generation compared to, say, my parents' generation.
Yeah.
Where, like, the gender stereotypes were very defined. It was like the man goes out and he works, he earns the money, he provides. The woman stays home and raises the children and cooks and cleans. You know, my parents are still very much running on that gender stereotype. And I don't know, like, it's changed a lot.
Definitely. I think that plays a massive factor. And I think the fact that it is it's a very confusing time to be anybody at the moment. We're living in a fucking crazy time, isn't it? You know what I mean? But I feel that, like, guys and girls alike, you know, you have those roles within the family, but because they're so set in stone from, you know, back in our grandparents and that's not how the world is, and we're trying to live like we did in the 40s. Like, if you know, you can be a stay-at-home mum, you can be a stay-at-home dad, you can be the breadwinner if you're a girl, you can be the breadwinner if you're a boy. It doesn't matter. It's what you want to do and what part you want to play within that family. And it goes down to, similar to suicide, it goes down to stigma, in my opinion, and my experience, is that, oh, well, you know, you can't have the girl out earning the bread, which you certainly can. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I guess too, where I think a lot of men get confused as well, is that there's so many amazing women who are earning really decent income, which is vastly different to the past, and, you know, having children, and doing both successfully.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I sometimes think, and I was joking about this with my friend the other day, that, you know, are men becoming obsolete? You know, like, do you ever feel obsolete? You know, like my last guest, Ricky Roberts, sort of said it. He was like, we had our baby, you know, my wife, you know, was breastfeeding the baby constantly and working as well, and I just felt like I had no role in it, like I wasn't needed.
Well, 100%, and that comes down to, I feel, finding a purpose. Because then as soon as you take that away, what's happened is all these old stereotypes and all these old roles has created that purpose back then. So once we get here, it's kind of like, I feel like a scale that, you know, it's equalising here. You get, you know, you feel worthy and you feel like that if you're the provider. But then once you take away being the provider, the scale just completely tips. You know, where are you? Like, you've got no significance, you've got no meaning, but that's not true. We can find significance and meaning in other things, and I think that's just, in my opinion, a very old, outdated way of kind of looking at things, but it definitely very much exists, and it's definitely very much real for a lot of people. But I feel like having these conversations is being able to say, guys, it's okay to play the role you want to within the family, girls, vice versa, whatever works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just kind of feel like men and women need to get together, especially in the early stages of their relationship, and just communicate their values and their needs from the very, very start, and really be on the same page with that. I think that would just really reduce a lot of confusion around gender roles in a relationship. I don't know. That's just something that's come to me. But
just being, I feel the exact same way, Shan, just having an open mind and not being so judgmental, I feel. There's just not feeling like there's something behind everything, and just being okay and comfortable.
Is that how you like to live your life?
100%, man. Like, I try, and I've worked really hard on not subscribing to what people think of me. You know, I make mistakes, I'm human, but I try and not let the opinion of others get to me. I just want to try and do what makes me happy. And within a relationship setting or anything like that, is just doing doing what's needed. It's not sitting back and going, oh, you know, I can't do this, or you can do that because of this stigma or anything like that. It's just fucking putting your mitt up and doing what's needed to get by. We live in a crazy enough time as it is without having to worry about that.
Can I ask you, do you suffer from poor mental health consistently?
Yeah, definitely. So I've struggled for years with a gambling addiction. So that's really played on my mind. After Maddie passed away, I struggled massively with drinking and gambling, and that is what led me to go in that cycle to suicide, essentially, because I was using that to mask what I was actually going through. But I've had fantastic mentors in the past and fantastic support around me to be able to get me through that, and continually to you know, because gambling, or even addiction in itself, as you were saying, you said you've got some experience with that yourself, Shan, is that, you know, gambling, to anybody that has an addiction, you'll understand that there's not a magic pill, or you don't meditate 3 times a day and the urges aren't there, or it's not there. It's a constant battle, but it's getting better. It's finding the reasons not to. It's finding the connection, because the opposite of addiction is connection, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So it's finding, that wasn't me. That was a real good mentor of mine, Monty, who said that to me, but I love it. The opposite of addiction is connection. So instead of going towards that urge, that desire to gamble, I need to connect. I'm not connecting. That's my body telling me, hey, what are you doing, brother? Let's go for a walk. Let's connect to nature. Let's connect to a partner. Your partner. Let's connect to anything. And that's kind of what I try and help people with addiction.
There's no coincidence that, mental illness data is rising at the same time, like our societal structures and our addictions to technology and our use of technology is increasing. So there's no coincidence there. Like there's a rise in that, and then there's a rise in mental illness. Like it's so obvious.
Oh, I mean, I do not have a social media. I've got Facebook back because of, so talk to me, bro. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Facebook. I've got like Messenger for like personal reasons, but I'll get it back for maybe a week and then have 2 or 3 months off. Like I've got it back for this week for my business for real, because I had to do some ads and stuff like that and do some back end stuff. But I hate it, man. Like I just think there's so much negativity. There's so much judging. There's so many different things, and it couldn't be used for fantastic purposes. Don't get me wrong, it can be, but just it's mostly driven by political views, and it gives, to be honest, idiots a stage to get up and say stuff that they'd never say in person. And I can't handle that, man. I struggle with that.
But then the algorithm connects them with other idiots.
Correct, and that's,
It's actually separating us.
Yeah, exactly right. Like all you have to do is look at this whole COVID piss that's been happening at the moment, man.
Highlights it.
100, it just completely shows that, it's the left versus the right, and it's completely, fucking separating us, man, when it really shouldn't. Yeah. It's dividing us when we really should be coming together for this.
Exactly. It'll just keep feeding you the ideology that you've been engaging with.
Yeah, definitely.
And
man.
it's really concerning.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the gambling.
Hear me.
I mean, that's a symptom. Gambling's just a symptom of something deeper.
Exactly.
And that's what I've learned. So, like, say with substance abuse or addiction to drugs and alcohol, it's a symptom. I think people forget that. They go, and they think that that's the problem.
Yeah.
But really, it's the symptom.
100%.
And so, if you take the gambling away, well, it's like, well, what were you using the gambling to numb out in your life? So, that's what really came to fruition for me when I decided to remove the alcohol. I was just left with, okay, there's some shit that I've got to, face up to, or, understand that maybe happened in my earlier life, and try and deal with that, and it's really hard. And I think people get very scared of having to face up to uncomfortable stuff. And I'm just going to reiterate what you said. That is when connecting with someone who's been through a similar experience or having the same struggle, it's immediate peace and healing. I don't know why it works. It just works, right?
Being able to chat to someone that knows what it's like. Addictions, it's one of the biggest blessings I've ever had in my life, is to being able to experience this. I genuinely feel that way because it's taught me so many lessons, and it's made me so grateful because it's taught me so many things, such as discipline. Another thing, it's taught me to be able to have appreciation for money, for example. Now, I don't mean addiction is great and, anything like that. It is fucking woeful. It is terrible, and I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. However, I've tried to flick the switch in my life, and I don't, I'm not perfect at it, but I don't sit back and I don't go, why is this happening to me, and shake my fist up at the sky. I kind of turn around, sit around and go, all right, that was shit. This is happening for me. What am I trying to get out of this? There's something that's coming. All right, well, addiction has formed from this and that. And then you go down the rabbit hole and you go, oh, okay, that makes sense. I wasn't addicted to sitting down in screen when my chances of winning is 0.0001. Is actually, stuff that happened when, earlier on in life and even with Maddie and things like that. That's what was going on. And hey, you really want to gamble at the moment? Okay, I haven't connected with anybody in a while. Boom, connecting.
Yeah.
You're on.
Yeah. I mean, how's it going, that journey for you?
Good. Like I said, there's days where I go hour by hour and not day by day.
Gotcha.
And that's just, as you probably experienced, Shan, that's how it is. But each day, if I can, I've learnt, I was very lucky enough to kind of have some really important people in my life kind of teach me that if you can go to bed at night and say, good job on not gambling today, let's have a crack tomorrow.
Yeah.
it's a lot easier than saying you're never going to gamble again, or you're never going to have that, you're never going to drink again, or you're never going to do that drug again. Or there's a lot of different addictions. Man, like to go back to what you said, social media is the thing. You go out to dinner and see there's no one's talking anymore, hey?
Oh, man, it's scary. Like, I mean, I'm responsible for it too. I'm part of the problem. But I know for me, I don't know if you do this, but, you know, like I will go looking for something that's going to numb me out. Like, so social media is a great one. You can just scroll mindlessly and I'm not thinking about the, like, things that are making me feel upset. And, I mean, another one is consumerism. You know, that's the old adage of, you know, retail therapy. It's a real thing. You know, like
Afterpay is the worst.
Yeah, Afterpay.
I own a fucking goat now. Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm just terrible. I feel like shit about myself. I'm going to go buy a new surfboard, and I feel good for a day or two, and then I'm like, oh, that surfboard's old, or I don't like it, or I'm going to go and get another one. You know, or a skateboard. It's just, you know, it's the human condition. I feel that drives these behaviours, but also I'm more and more, I just feel like humans are being forced to live in a way that they're really not meant to.
Oh man,
you know? And we're just surviving.
I could not agree any more with you. Like, imagine trying to explain to, like, in Ned Kelly's era or wherever you are, that you're going to be able to click a few buttons on a fucking little square and some dude's going to hop on a motorised bike and deliver you 2 number 2s and a, you know, spring roll.
Yeah.
It's mental just to even think about it. And that's why it's such a big thing we do at Talk to Me, bro, is I'm a massive fan of social media detoxes. And not only social media, just complete detoxes of, like, trying to have times for your phone, putting it away. Because the first thing you do when you roll out of bed in the morning, a lot of people do, what do? Check who's, like, it's like you're reading the paper. It's a terrible thing to do. And we weren't, in my opinion, we weren't made, you know, thousands of years ago and all the way up till today to roll out of bed and check, you know, your mate who's in Bolivia at the moment. Like, that's going to give you the shits because you think, fuck, I'm about to go down and, you know, I'm going to go to work. I'm very lucky, I enjoy going to work, but you can turn around and go, I'm going to go to work and my mate's having croissants currently under the Eiffel Tower. I've got a shit life. Yeah. And that's where that whole comparison's the thief of joy. Completely. You kind of sit back and you think.
The what for joy?
So, like an expression that my mother taught me, actually.
All right.
Old Mama Brown. So comparison is the thief of joy.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Because the more you compare yourself, you can only compare yourself to today, or you can only compare yourself to yesterday. The more I compare myself to you, Shan, you are a fucking brilliant surfer. Man, I swim like a set of car keys.
Really? I don't believe it.
Oh no, I'm not terrible, but, like, in saying that, like, I'm not a good surfer. I just don't surf and I don't necessarily enjoy it that much. But that's just because I'm not going to try and compare you. I'm not going to compare myself to a trip over in Italy, because if I do that, I'm just going to be upset. I want to be in Italy. Yeah. I love pasta.
So do I.
That's so good.
Gluten-free pasta, you had that?
But I had it for the first time the other night, actually. It's actually, not bad.
Dude, I had one with, like, sweet potato and corn gluten-free pasta. Anyway, I realised I was gluten intolerant recently. And when I say recently, in the last couple of years, but what I found when I reduced the gluten out of my diet, my mental health got better.
I believe that.
You know,
yeah, definitely.
Have you heard that sort of research around, you know, the links to gut health and mental health? Like, they call it your third brain or something like
definitely, yeah. It's a really, I wouldn't say heaps well documented, but it's, you know what, actually I will. I'll backtrack that. It's really well documented that what you put in your body is such a big factor to what you feel. So, for example, like, I work with some people that are working with addiction or other things in their life, and they'll be feeling like absolute shit, and they'll go and have a bender on the weekend, Macca's, you know, drugs, drinking, and then on Monday when we have a check-in, they'll turn around and say they're feeling like shit. Well, fuck, man, I wonder. You know, like, no one's going to feel good, and it goes back to that technology. No one's going to feel good. We're not meant to be like that. Now, having again, I'm certainly not a saint. Like, there's days where I drink way too much, and, you know, I'm trying to get better at that also. But you got to look at what you're putting in your body. If you're putting Maccas and things like that, they have their place as a little treat. But you got to be feeding yourself. Like, it's just one thing I learned recently, which is fantastic, I read in a book, was that you got to treat yourself as though you're someone you're trying to help. You got to be from a third person, try and pretend, hey, here's Jack, I'm going to try and help myself. Well, if you had a mate, you wouldn't turn around, or if you had a pet, for example, you wouldn't turn around and feed him Maccas. You get some real high quality stuff in that Lamborghini. You wouldn't turn around and feed him wine. You'd give him electrolytes. You'd give him stuff like that. So why do we have a different attitude towards us?
It's so true. I love it. And I've been talking a lot about this lately. I reread the Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now, Have you heard of it or read about it?
Yeah.
And he sort of says that we have to have this like third person approach to our thoughts, right? So you observe the thinker or watch the thinker, he calls it. So he's like, you are not your mind. You're not your thoughts, okay? Because your brain is primal. It's a problem-solving, fight or flight mechanism to protect you from, the world around you, the immediate world around you. And so it's constantly, protecting, and it's going to the past to reflect on ways it can protect itself in the future.
Correct.
So
yeah.
it's constantly oscillating between past, future, but never in the present. And his quote is, "Life happens now."
Yeah.
So what you do is when you observe what your monkey mind is doing, you're just like sitting above it. And I do it now. It's like, oh, yep, just went to the past again. Oh, just went to the future. Oh, just went to the... And when you start to observe it, it hides. Your thoughts hide from this third person watching it. And all of a sudden you're in the present. And again, it just fucking works.
It's fantastic. And Shan, a little fact I'll share is when the first time I struggled with suicidal ideation, I was 16 or 17. And I struggled with intrusive thoughts, intrusive OCD, and it was crippling. Like I'd go to school, I was all good, pretend to be happy, paint on that smile, and I'd go home, I was in tears. And the reason I'm still here is because of my mother, like 100%, and she's the most beautiful person in the world. And I really struggled with that, but then I kind of learned through a lot of help is that being able to sit back and not think you aren't your thoughts. It's so important to know that you aren't your thoughts. Because I sat back and thought, that thought means I'm a bad person. Why am I thinking that? And as soon as you have on average, and I think it's 60,000 thoughts per day. I don't know who sat back and counted, but it would have been a long day. But you're not able to go through and reflect. And it's absolutely, you probably know, Shan, it's exhausting, man. It is exhausting sitting back and going, is that thought good? Is that thought bad? Like you're a little processor in a factory, instead of just letting the thoughts run like a river. That's kind of the way I see my mind is like a river. It's just a river of thoughts to let them flow. Don't pick any out. It's a river up there. And if I need anything, I can jump in the water and have a crack. Yeah. If I don't, I'm just going to sit there and enjoy the view.
Yeah, you use it as the tool that it is. Use it for those practical things, that need to be solved. The life issues that, like life admin. That's what the brain's good for.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's really not good at resolving your emotional issues or, your, I guess, and this is where it was challenging for me because indirectly it does force you to tap into like a spirituality. And I know that term gets thrown around and it's such a woke thing to say. I've never actually woke AF, but at my age now, I've just realized like you just can't do it by yourself. Like you have to just have some sort of faith in something else because I've tried to problem solve my whole life and work it out and control and manipulate and guide my life. And then I just keep coming back to the same problem, and that's me.
Yeah.
So I need something other than me to get me through.
Well, I heard a fantastic quote is that to live like God is real, because worst case scenario, you're right.
Would you say you're a spiritual person?
Yeah. So the thing that helped me the thing that got me through that was my mother, but also funnily enough, I went to a halfway through having these breakdowns kind of thing. I was at school and we went on a retreat to the Nantian temple and to a mosque. Anyway, I don't know what it was, but I went to the Nantian temple and this is the only time I was calm and I didn't have like crippling anxiety of these thoughts. I was just calm and I really got into it. And man, like me and my mum used to go there every weekend. I'd go up there to the temple, learn how to pray. I've got heavily into, because Brett Harriet has been a massive mentor of mine I've been training with him for close to about 13 years now. He's got all those Thai tats and I was really interested in that, so I got a couple of his ones. And yeah, I love the Buddhist principles. Again, sometimes I'm terrible, I make mistakes, I'm human, but there's a lot of time where when I was going through that dark stage in my life, I just thought, fuck this, nothing's real, this is it. And what a terrible way to what a terrible existence that is. Because even if you're going through that, and I don't necessarily believe in God, but I feel if there's a higher power out there, which the amount of experience I've had with just different things happening around me where I genuinely believe in a higher power, what kind of God is going to stop you from getting into those gates, or, God or any higher power, if you're a good person and just try and do what you can for your mate and for the person next to you.
Yeah.
I feel like if the God didn't let me in, I'd be happy to hang out with the bloke downstairs, to be honest with you. I think we'd get along better if the God didn't let me in. So
Yeah. I guess for me too, it's like, sometimes I break it down. I think it's just a really fun fairy tale. Like, why not believe in something, you know? It doesn't hurt anyone. And it's like, I'm not drawn to religions, but I am drawn to the idea of a higher power of my own understanding. You know, for me, that's that little like intuitive sense that I feel sometimes that I need to follow. Like asking you to be on the podcast, so I worked off an intuitive sense with that.
thank you.
You know, and that's actually how I've been guiding a lot of my decisions in life. You know, and I think we all have it. Okay, but it's when you stop and find peace and quiet. That's when the answers come. And some might call that God.
100%. Well, what's harder to believe that even with all religions that there's someone that walks on water, and this is any religion, there's someone that does these incredible things and is the higher power, or that, you know, it's not real and we're still talking about it thousands of years later. Now, I know there's been religions well before Christianity that were here a lot longer than this, but how hard is it to believe that just none of this exists?
Oh, dude.
Like,
yeah.
And honestly, Shan, it keeps me up a lot of nights while, you know, my partner will just go to sleep at the blink of an eye and it's ridiculous. And I'll just be, and she seems so peaceful. And I'll be sitting there going, I don't know, the Matrix, it's not that fucking unrealistic. But then I'm really worried I'm going to go up to a roof and try and run off it or something like that and people get it wrong. Like, I'm just trying to be, just believe in myself. Like, meant to be honest, I'm not even kidding. I've actually thought about the Matrix being real.
Dude,
who knows?
I was talking about it the other day because I rewatched that not too long ago either.
Great franchise.
They were onto something, the writers of that movie, man. You can open your drink too, don't you? You can put your mic there. It's so polite too, man. I love it. But it's funny you mentioned Brett Harriet because so many dudes are drawn to that guy, like myself included. And I'm like, wonder why. Like, he's the nicest dude. But I think with Brett, again, he's a really good example of someone that's actually challenged the stereotypes. So again, aesthetically, you look at him, you know, he's a boxer, he's a trainer, he's covered in tats up to his chin. But then he's so disarming in his kindness and empathy and openness. And I know for me, when I met him years ago at Downtown Gym, probably 10 odd years ago, that he was like, I just couldn't believe that he was such a nice guy because I was so like a little bit intimidated by him.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, man, like that's what I want to be like.
Yeah.
You know, and and then you brought him up again too. Like I think that guy's had a real influence on a lot of people in our area.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Brett has taught me a lot growing up. Like I said, he's been a fantastic mentor of mine, not only with mental health, but just with my training. I trained and competed quite a bit when I was younger with him in like the mixed martial arts side. And he just taught me like good hard training and really in a good attitude towards it because he absolutely smoked me so many times. There's actually funny. I was like 16 at Downtown Gym and like everyone's like out there like doing whatever, going to parties and stuff like that. And I remember I walked in with like a Red Bull and a banana and I was just ready to rip in. I was an idiot kid. Anyway, and about 30 minutes later, he was holding my hair as I was spewing off the deck at Downtown Gym. Anyway, so once I was done there, I did another 10 leg kicks either side, and then we got back on with it. But that's good training. A lot of other people would have been like, "Oh, here's a kid." Brett really didn't give a fuck.
I must admit, there's something about the way he trained you. I trained with him the other day.
I trained this afternoon,
Did
man.
you?
Yeah, finished up this afternoon with him. Yeah.
Nice. He's just about to open up his new gym soon too.
Yeah, soon.
But anyway, like, he just really knows how to push you right to the edge in terms of your fitness levels. Like, I've never met anyone that can get me as fit as him.
Oh, I mean, that's, I think, to touch back on your spirituality side, there's been a few times I've seen the light when fucking training with him, man. I've been on the brink of collapse and I've started to question my beliefs and stuff like that and made peace with people because I thought I wasn't going to make it, so... He'll listen to this and smoke me for this, I reckon.
That's good. I swear that's where I've seen you before. You and I have probably like sparred or something. Yeah. So you said you were drawn to sort of like the mixed martial arts when you were younger. How did you go with that? Did you decide to compete in any way or?
Yeah, so I had a couple of fights when I was younger. I just loved the idea of competing, and I suppose I looked for an outlet for like just the way I was feeling, this anxiety and all these other things. And I was very lucky. I learned when I was young that physical exercise is such a fantastic way to be able to make yourself feel better, and especially within the competitive arena. So I had a good, like Brett is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best trainer in the Illawarra. And, he just taught me I was really lucky. He taught me good technique, and I just trained and had a few fights, and went okay. And after that, I kind of was tricky. My mum's a nurse, so I kind of was stuck between a rock and a hard place because I love competing. I love like the competitive side of like MMA and stuff like that. But mum also kind of showed us the when I was younger the damage that can be done. So that kind of put a dampen on it. It was hard to go to training with those thoughts in the back of my head.
I don't like getting hit in the head either.
No, man. I've got enough problems as it is without getting... Yeah.
Even with headgear on, 16-ounce gloves, you finish a sparring session and it's like, sometimes I've come home, I have a headache for 3 days, you get that sort of dull headache.
And if you ask Bretto, like after the first 2 rounds are good, but for the next 3 or 4 rounds for me, man, I got the Homer Simpson strategy.
What's that?
That's just get hit in the head until they tire themselves out, and then just hopefully just sweep the leg, kind of do a Karate Kid and sweep the leg. And Bretto will probably vouch for that.
Yeah.
He tells everyone that.
But I also sometimes think, I feel like everyone needs to experience being in a ring for like at least one round of their life where it's just you and the other person and they're trying to hit you and you're trying to hit them. There's something about it, like you just got nowhere to hide and you're so vulnerable, and it's so physically demanding. Like you can't compare training hard for 2 minutes on a bag compared to 2 minutes of sparring.
To be honest,
there's
Shan,
something about it, man.
I think if that were the case, if it was like mandated and everyone had to do that, like it is at the moment, I think there would be a lot more people out at town that had shut their mouth and wouldn't be big mouths because they'd realise they're absolutely useless when it comes to throwing hands. And that's one thing that, you see out in town. And that's one I'm very blessed to have had Brett in my life, is because he's taught me how to fight, and I'd like to think I'm pretty competent in that respect. Yeah. But I've had like 1 or 2 altercations in 15 years, and I don't look for it because I've kind of feel like, I'm okay, I don't really need to fight anybody. Not that I think I'm Floyd Mayweather or anything like that, but I just feel really comfortable within my skin that I don't need to fight anybody. So if someone pushes me or anything like that, I'm not going to walk away, but I don't really try and entice that. And I think that comes down to training, because a lot of guys out there that you see, my opinion on it is that they'll throw hands, and that's not because necessarily they want to bash the other person. I think it's because they're trying to measure themselves, because they just have no idea. And there was a stat that I think guys are 400% more confident than what they should when they try and fight out in town. Like they overshoot their abilities by about 400%.
Yeah. And if you've sparred, your abilities become immediately obvious in the first 10 seconds.
100. But when you're lying on the floor and looking up and, seeing stars, I feel exactly like that. I feel it's very, very useful to be able to see that and be able to clip. I think the other side of it, Shan, is to be able to cop one in the chin. And I've sparred with some really good, I was over in Thailand and trained with some incredible Thai fighters and got my ass absolutely kicked. I don't think I landed a shot in about 4 hours sparring. Anyway, but those times, it kind of makes you understand you're not made of glass as well. I think it's a really good metaphor in life in general as well, as you keep getting, it's the old expression, it's a bit corny, but getting hit, it's not how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit. And I was getting hit hard.
So would you say you realised how resilient you actually were?
I just learned what the human body's capable of, like the beating it can take without and still survive. But not only that, is just realizing, like I said, I'm not made of glass, which I think a lot of people, they get hit for the first time that I've witnessed in sparring and other things like that, and they kind of have a giggle or kind of shake their head and go, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And they kind of go, all right, let's have a crack. Yeah, it's good.
And indirectly, that actually builds confidence. It builds self-confidence.
Definitely.
And then less propensity to want to be in a violent situation. That's the irony of it. And I think for a lot of men, I know I need a testosterone release, and that's what boxing's been really good, because it's a place where you can just be that primal man for a little bit, and and slog it out. And I found it's built my confidence and makes me feel less violent, if that makes any sense.
Well, you'd much prefer to be a samurai walking through a garden than a gardener walking through a samurai fight, wouldn't you?
That's another good analogy.
I wish I could claim all these, but this is just stuff that I've learned over the years. Is I completely just feel that I feel the reason that I haven't fought much is just because I feel competent. And I feel really I just like the idea, I think, and this is what I try and instill in others, is just being able to not only keep myself safe, but if I'm out with friends, family, or anything like that, I feel a lot more confident that if an idiot comes along, that I'll be able to de-escalate the situation rather than if it's kicking off going, oh, I wonder how I'm going to go here.
Yeah. And then you might be more inclined to act badly in that situation because you're lacking confidence and then really do something you regret.
Well, yeah, it's easy to step it up, isn't it? When you're competent, it's easy to step it up and go 40, 50%, 60%.
Yeah.
But when you don't know what's going on the price of cheese, you're just going to come out absolutely swinging.
Yeah, and I mean, when people get scared and fear can make you, make bad decisions,
crazy things,
crazy things, and that's what going back to what you're saying about people going in town and throwing hands because they want to see what their ability is, but they've never actually stepped in a ring. It's like there's a lot of people who've just like changed the whole course of their life because they made an irrational decision and wanted to hit someone in the street, drunk. And
you might get this as well, Shan. Sorry,
that's fine.
You might get this as well. It's really funny that because I'm a brisk 5'7" all the time. If there's ever a scrap, I'm always the first one. Always the first one grabbed. Like I was at Coniston. Do we have time for a story? Got a little 2-second story,
dude. You got all the time in the world.
Yeah,
There's no time limit.
So I was at Coniston. I dropped in to see a mate at Coniston pub one time. I could have even been when I was gambling or something like that, but I popped in like that, probably to put a quick bet on before I went on a date. Actually, believe it or not, and the lady I was with was waiting in the car, and actually I wasn't going to see a mate. Sorry, I popped in to see him. He was struggling. Anyway, and this junkie's jumped over at the Coniston pub, jumped over at the fence and grabbed onto this chick. Anyway, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? This big Maori dude started to tussle with him, and then I ran off and jumped on old Bud. Anyway, it, looked like the Karate Kid 3. So it was on for young and old. The security came and separated us. Anyway, and then who do you think he ran after? Yeah, so he didn't go after the 6'6" Maori bloke who was toweling him up. He ran after me anyway. So got him off again. How's this though? Security got him off again. He got tossed. He got chucked out, and then we turned around. I was like, all right, cool. Anyway, I've got this lady in the car. And I was like, oh, no.
Did she know that was going on?
She had no idea. No, she's just sitting in there probably doing whatever.
Yeah.
And I turned around. I was like, all right, bro, look, I've got to go. I'm about to go out on a date. Hope you're good, blah, blah, blah. I walk outside and the car's on the other side of the road. This junkie's down the road. He looked at me, says, there you are.
No.
Sprinted at me. Anyway, it looked like a scene out of Indiana Jones, man. So I'm fucking running for the car.
Away from him?
No. So I ran towards the car because I'm like, I don't want this lady. I'm trying to, first impressions mean heaps, Shan, and I don't want her to see me turn into Mortal Kombat in the middle of the street. Yeah. So,
especially when you met her on Tinder.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, probably. But I turned around, I jumped in the car, and there's a funny story to this. I jumped in the car. Old Bud's sprinted to the car and tried to put his hand through the window.
No.
He's off his head on ice or something. Anyway, I have no idea. I need to get a sponsor that's a car window. I wish I had as much trust as that car window does. Doesn't break. He's smashing it.
No.
Since I've parked.
Was she freaking out?
She's like, what the fuck?
She's
what the fuck's
what
going on?
What are you doing? It was her ex-boyfriend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, 100%. So anyway, this is happening, Shan. Someone's parked in front of me, so I've had to reverse out. I can't just take off. So how's this? I've looked at the front. Honestly, like I said, it looks like a scene out of Fast and Furious 6 at this point in time. It's got this dude who's trying to break through the glass. I reverse out without hitting the car. That old bus just teeing off on my window. I'm still waiting for it to cave in. I've got a girl crying next to me. Fuck, honestly, it was all happening at this point. I drove about 50 metres up the road. He gave up, and I just started to see red, hey. And she's crying next to me, and I was like, hey, I'll be back in 2 seconds. Can you take the car? No, I did do that. And then she started to be like, no, please. Because I just got super.
Go back and bash him?
Oh, man, I was overcome with emotion, man. Because you think of the shock and everything that's happened. As I just don't like to be. I don't like to feel like that. No. Like nobody would. But he's scared like this lady. And, I didn't. At that time, I was just making a rational decision. I was like, nah, fuck this guy. I was like, I don't care what the sitch is. I was like, you don't do that.
Why was he so after you?
Because I'm 5'7".
But he just picked you out.
Because I'm 5'7". Yeah, it's a lot easier. That's just the male.
He didn't really do anything except try to break it up.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't go in there. So I didn't grab him on the nuts or anything like that. I went over there, tried to, but he's on. He must have been off his head on ice, man. So it wasn't a big deal. He's looking to
focused in on you.
So as soon as he saw me come out, man, he was bullet a gate, ran at the car, and I turned around and got her out. Needless to say, the rest of the night wasn't fantastic on my date. We were rattled.
Yeah.
But that's okay. These things happen. But look, I'm probably on like Tinder nightmares from that. From that, you'd be like, "Oh, girls, I need a drink. You won't believe what happened to me today."
Is there an actual show called Tinder Nightmares?
I reckon after my first date, probably.
Really, they should do that. You should do that. I'm sure people that have awesome
Well,
Tinder stories.
I think there's pages and stuff for it,
Yeah.
man. There have to be.
Well, there's the Tinder Swindler. I watched that. The other night on
Fantastic. Yeah,
Netflix.
I wouldn't say fantastic, but I thought like that was absolutely mind-boggling, that show.
I was mind-boggled about how much effort the guy went to. You know, to be fake. Like, I couldn't believe it. It would be stressful.
It really makes you think, though, Shan. And I said this when I was watching it with my partner. I kind of sat back and I was like, how can you be this much of a bad person? It just made me think these people are out there.
Yeah, like I'd be having anxiety attacks. I'd have so much anxiety.
Like you owe your mate a schooner.
Yeah.
Or you owe your mate something like that. And I feel terrible. I'm like, hey, man, sorry about that. Like I'll hit you up on Afterpay or something like that in 4 installments.
He took like 100 grand off one of those girls.
Bro, he took 300 off one.
Was it 300?
Like 300 off one of them, I'm pretty sure. 200 off another. To be honest, I can't get a loan to get a chicken nugget, let alone get that kind of money. So I don't know what they were doing, but they're living pretty good.
I'll give you a chicken nugget.
Yeah, I appreciate you. That's why I'm here, brother, for a feed after. But yeah, man, it was absolutely unbelievable, that show.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I was thinking too. Like, how can you be so bad? Because it was like, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the money because I just feel so guilty and anxious.
Oh, yeah, but you're a good person, Shan.
Well,
like I feel like you wouldn't do that though.
I know exactly, and that's where I was like you. I was like, just blown away that there is people like out there like that who have basically they're sociopaths.
Oh, exactly. Look, there's a problem there. That's just not, in my opinion, that's just not a normal, a normal functioning brain. To be able to turn around and ruin lives like that is just such a terrible, terrible thing.
Zero empathy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and again, I think, actually, while we talk about the dating apps thing, I think that really drives a lot of, poor mental health as well, because it's this endless scrolling. Like you can swipe, like there's no unlimited swiping. When people get on those dating apps, they swipe through people.
Yeah, I think guys, I think
it's so addictive.
I think I could be wrong, but I feel like we're losing our sense of being able to connect naturally. Like being able to, and this goes back down to like some of the stuff that like you can say, over the liquid, like having a few drinks and say, like, I've been guilty of it, like, and, said stupid shit over message and stuff like that. And, I regret that. But like the things that people will say over message or like on Tinder or something like that, you'd never say to someone's face. No. It's a terrible thing to say. So why are we saying it? It's just the same as Messenger, all these other apps and things like that, is that when you're not there, it's easy to say, but we're losing our ability to connect with people. Like, people find it a lot easier to go onto an app rather than go up into a bar and be able to make a connection and, are afraid of the easy thing about apps, which it really decreases the chance of rejection. And what I mean by that is you still get rejected where people won't swipe you, but it's a lot easier to not get someone swipe you because it's not an instant rejection. They just don't swipe you. So it's okay, keep going till I find. But if you go out to a bar, you turn around and you see a nice lady that you'd like to, have a drink with or get to know a little bit better, there's that chance of, hey, nah, not happening.
Yeah, like cold
Yeah,
rejection.
yeah, and that's tough. I think there's a way that you can deliver that message without being so.
I never thought of it like that, bro. That's a really good point.
It's so much, yeah.
Like it makes you immune to that cold-hearted rejection.
I think that's why people love it.
But in the same token, like that stuff is like character building and it's resilience building, and that's a real life experience. But when you get swiped past on a dating app and you don't know, well, you're not really growing and learning as a person, are you?
No, exactly right. And I feel that is on both sides of the story. I think it's an important lesson on both sides for the girl and for the guy. I haven't been on the girl's side, but, you've had, I'm sure you have in the world, you're a good-looking rooster, Shan. I've had in the past girls come up to you and tried to...
So you.
That's okay. Like, I'm sure that you've come up and had a girl, like, try and buy you a drink or something like that. Or I
was telling my friend the other day, that's never happened to me.
Really?
Well, I mean, I don't drink, but... And I was in a relationship for 13 years, which I've just come out of. And before that, no, never really.
Well, I suppose, look... I
know what you're saying, though, sorry.
Bro, no, that's cool, man. No, that's cool. Look, it requires... And it's a rarity. Like, it doesn't happen that often. But you will maybe sometimes get someone who will, like a lady or a guy that might turn around and come up. And I feel that's really important to be able to be respectful. And even if you're not interested, that you don't have to have that drink or you don't. But there's a way to let someone down. Like, and I've seen it a few times with guys. I don't think, like, guys and girls understand what you can do with your reaction. I know you might have had a few drinks, but that doesn't lead to being an arsehole necessarily.
Yeah.
But you turn around and you be like, oh, like the amount of courage it takes to be able to walk up to someone. Don't get me wrong, there's some absolute fuckwits around Wollongong that just completely don't care.
The world.
Oh, the world, sorry. Yeah, around the world, sorry. But, just from my experience within Wollongong who just don't care, whatever, next. But there are other guys, though, that I've got mates who would build up the courage for a few hours, be like, oh, have a few drinks, like, oh, man, I don't know about this. And then they will go and do that. And then it is tough to watch, man. You're just like, oh, like this is train wreck stuff. And you're like, this is no good. And then like the letdown is terrible though, where she's like heaps ice cold, or again, the guy can be heaps ice cold. And you're kind of like, fuck, man. Like it's simple as I've had it one time where I wasn't interested. Yeah. I've had a number of times when I was single where like girls weren't interested. That's fine. I'm not their cup of tea. But that's how it is. You don't have to be a dick about it. Yeah. Like you can turn around and say, hey, look, thank you so much. I can get my own drink. That's okay. But I really, really appreciate the offer. I hope you have an awesome night.
Yeah.
How fucking hard is that?
Exactly.
Versus,
it's social etiquette.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like the ick, I think they call it nowadays, the ick.
What's that? I'm out of touch. What does that mean?
I think I learned it the other day from maths. I think it's where they're like, ugh.
Oh.
Well, yeah,
what?
the ick it's called.
Like that's based on how a girl would react.
Yeah, like I think I don't know it fully. I don't know it fully, but I think that's what it is, the ick.
But this is really obvious. Like I think this is what's happening with apps and social media and all that, is that our communication skills are diminishing. So communication is so much more than just verbal.
Yeah.
As I'm talking to you now, what am I doing with my hands? What am I doing with my eyes? What am I facial expressions? We're actually losing those skills of communication, that are way more higher order. So we're regressing in our communication skills. We're only good at, like, we're okay maybe texting and stuff, but like you said, like when you're in a real life situation and you have to rely on your body posture, and the tone of your voice.
Well, this goes back
that's all
down to
being lost,
100%, Shan. This goes back to what you and me first started talking about in terms of like the depression and loneliness and things like that. Loneliness, I learned recently, in extreme amount of loneliness of people that kind of don't connect, has the same equivalent to 17 cigarettes per day. Now, I don't understand.
Oh, say that again.
So, yeah, it's mental, right? So loneliness. So if you're like an extreme, like some people are introverted and they don't want to communicate, but there's only a certain level where you can't have any connection within the world. There might be anomalies, that's fair. However, there's been studies that have shown, and I don't understand necessarily in my mind the cigarette view. However, studies have shown that loneliness can be as bad as smoking half a packet of cigarettes per day for your health. People, just because it's not a physical thing like cigarettes, drugs, or anything like that, people discount the mental health side of it, which is paramount. And loneliness is a massive deal. And the reason, I went to say that is because of we're losing communication skills. People are staying at home, especially, and we can't help the past 2 years, can we? Like we didn't. If you was on Sportsbet, fuck, it'd be paying big money that we're going to have this happen, right? So it wasn't really on the cards. So now, though, what we really need to do is trying to push ourselves to get uncomfortable, to be able to get out, connect with that mate. Don't have a call. We can have a call. Fantastic. If you want to reach out, you're doing a great job. But try and go out, go for a walk, get outside the house, do other things that are going to make you connect and be able to socialize, because those skills are so, so important. Like one thing we teach at Talk to Me Bro is how to have a meaningful conversation. And part of that is a lot of the times nowadays you'll be having a conversation that it could be important and your mate will just get a call or a text and be like, got 2 seconds? And you're like, fuck.
Dude, and it breaks the whole flow of the conversation.
And after that, you're more likely to close up the conversation where you're like, nah, it's all good, bro. Like, I was just going to say this.
What were we talking about? Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So what we kind of teach is that time and place. You've got to have a time and place set. Go out, your phones, put it on don't disturb or whatever.
Yeah.
And just connect and listen, because that, what you might think isn't a big deal or that can make the world a difference. Like I've had conversations with people and I've heard from others that have had conversations where that conversation has saved that person from killing themselves, which sounds silly. And you think, how can a conversation do that? But connection, I'll keep going back and keep hammering it down. Connection is the reason, the lack thereof is the reason that people feel that way.
Fuck yeah, bro. It's all about connection. And it's funny when people try to build a social media community, when it seems like you're trying to build like a real community. And I love that old saying, like, it's not an old saying, but a saying that I heard recently was like, disconnect to reconnect. And it's more important than ever. and especially like you said, through the times that we've just been through. And I think it's just so important what you're doing, bro. Like, don't stop. Like, it's just a beautiful thing. But my question to you is, like, it's very heavily focused on men. Do you think you could connect women into that?
We are. Yeah,
You
yeah.
are? Okay.
Yeah, so
Well,
we run recently we ran like a trial down at the Lagoon. We ran a big guys and girls breath session.
Okay.
So we run them for anybody listening in the Illawarra and Newcastle. In Illawarra we run them just for guys on a Friday at 6 a.m. down at Lagoon. So if you're free, ice bars, breath work, sometimes pass the footy, go for a swim, and then a coffee afterwards just to connect, catch up, and do those things that we were talking about. But to touch on the girl side of things, we've recently got in contact with some female facilitators, because I feel that I wouldn't be comfortable running a female session. I feel like I could try, but I feel that having females would be able to connect on a much deeper level than I can. So we're going to have girls run similar sessions to what we do, like Luke and myself at Talk to Me Bro, which is heavily based on breath work, cold water, which is like similar to Wim Hof, but with our own little spin on it, as well as just getting out and about, going for a walk, doing positive things to be able to create that community. And at Talk to Me Bro, we're massive on suicide prevention and awareness, but our biggest goal is creating community so that you do have Lifeline, which are incredible. You've got Beyond Blue, you've got all these other ones, but being able to call someone that's has a similar experience to you is priceless.
How do you run your sessions in terms of the group sessions? So will you have like a group circle and people share?
Yeah, so each Friday, so last Friday was a good one. We had about 25 people there. And what we usually do, we'll get the guys around, and I just like to, so it's not the similar thing all the time, break it up. So for this week, we just have like 1 minute where all eyes are on you. Everyone's like, there's no phones or anything like that. It's just you can set like, and this is why we just filled up the ice bars. We like let them cool down. They're getting like a cool temperature. We just stand around. We're listening to Rufus the other day. Man. Great, yeah, it was hectic. It was a great way to start Saturday.
It's like heavy sort of techno, isn't it?
Well, it's a little bit like trance. No. It's like Rufus is. I don't know what.
Yeah, I know.
You know Rufus?
I know Rufus. I'm just trying to remember something. Yeah, I don't listen to him often.
You were right. I'm probably not the best singer for this. Can't get it. It's real chilled music, and we try and put chilled music on and try and create like a real relaxing environment. But what we did last Friday was we sat around and went, righto, what was one win, something you're proud of this week gone? And sometimes we usually do one good or one bad. And this week we decided to go around and go, right, let's like, what was a win? And we ran around the circle and everyone's got a minute where all eyes are on you, where, you know, if you feel like you haven't been heard that week, guess what? Here's your chance to be heard. If you want eyes on you, if you want, you've got 24 other people, and some people might shit the bed and go, fuck, I don't want that. Yeah, we're all about comfort. If you don't want that, you don't have to talk. Just say, I appreciate you guys, but I'm just going to sit this one out. Easy, next person. And you just go through and have a chat about one win. We might do, what was one challenge this week? And we like chatting about that because guys go pretty into it. And then within that, after at coffee, what will happen is, like someone that's had a similar experience like you were talking about, if they link in. So like, for example, one thing that we
identify.
Yeah. So with like divorce and other things like that, that's one thing that we've got quite a few guys that have dealt with. So they connect and they can share their experiences, because it also provides a platform or a community to turn around and go, I'm struggling with this, Shan. What would you do in this situation, or how did you handle it? Oh, I handled it terrible. However, this person told me this, or I handled it great because I did this. So it's being able to give you resources to be able to help yourself in those situations.
Yeah, I clued into this power of identification probably about 9 or 10 years ago when you identify with someone else's story, it's just like this instant feeling of just like takes the pressure off, and you don't feel like, it reduces isolation almost immediately, and then it just feels like that's when the healing happens, and then you can use the other person's experiences to draw off, then link them to yours, and then you can understand your situation better. It's just magic, you know. And I really feel like okay, so I talk about like recovery programs, like 12-step recovery programs, where they're really big on that. But I feel like we need to have more groups, such as what you're doing, that aren't really based around recovering from addiction, but just based around recovering from life.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's,
and I know, sorry to cut you off.
No,
there,
you
mate,
go, Shan.
But Russell Brand, you know, the comedian and also now independent journalist, I love him. He wrote a book and it was like on the 12 steps of recovery, but just for people. So he's an addict, a heavy drug addict, but then he linked it to like, here's the 12 steps for anyone on how to deal with life, because they make you responsible, okay? They make you face up, they make you then go within, they make you identify the behaviour pattern, and then they make you be of service to others. And that's basically how it looks. And in that process, you connect with a higher power of your own understanding. So that he was trying to do it with that book, but I don't know if it was a hit or a miss. And I just feel like you're doing the same thing indirectly.
Yeah, definitely. I think just coming back down to my biggest push point of where I feel that I changed and I really saw the light was through connection. And that's what we're trying to push so much is within the Illawarra community, Newcastle, like we're up in Darwin where...
Yeah, how'd you end up in Newcastle?
So Luke Connors is one of my best mates. I served with him in the military and we went to Malaysia together. He's a fantastic public speaker and he lost, actually, crazy enough, he lost Matt, a mate of his, Matt, in the same year, a few months after I lost Big Matt. And yeah, from there we turned around and we didn't know what we were going to do at the time. And then, you know, we brought him along. Yeah. What's crazy about that, Shan, is I was talking to Luke. We went to Sweden together after we deployed and we were sitting on a boat and we both like are pretty probably too confident sometimes. We thought we're going to do something big one day. And I know this sounds like bullshit and people go, oh, yeah, of course you did. We turned around and said we're going to speak to thousands of people, don't know what it is, don't know what it looks like, but we're going to do this. And
you're a fantastic speaker.
And thanks, brother. I appreciate you. And a few years later, we kind of looked at each other and it was after we both lost Matt and you went, wow, who would have thought this was what we'd be talking about, huh? And the thing is, we're so passionate, super passionate about it because this conversation, Shan, isn't negative. Not like talking about suicide isn't negative. It's a really positive thing because we're doing things that people haven't done in the past, is we're on the way working together. This whole conversation and getting on board this train is working towards an Australia without suicide, which is our goal.
You're exposing it.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And when things are exposed, they hide. They want to run. You know. That's when you like clean the. I don't know. I just think it's beautiful. And I'm suffering from the same sort of condition that other people are suffering from in terms of I'm scared to talk about it because it's so delicate. And I'm like, I don't want to. In my mind, I think I don't want to tip someone over the edge by talking about it, or I don't want to offend anyone.
I'm telling you now.
That's what I think a lot of people suffer from, though, when they're scared to tell people about. Well, they're scared to talk about it,
and that is probably our number one. That's probably our number one thing that we're trying to combat is that there's so many good people out there, such as yourself, Shan, that are too I wouldn't say too afraid isn't the right word, but are too conscious, I suppose, with their own experiences about talking about that, where they kind of feel like it could tip someone off. But from my experience of being suicidal, from working with other people that have been suicidal and just all the knowledge, there's been nothing to support that. If anything, it's just talking about it is the only way we're going to overcome it. Like, you know, if you turn around and say, don't think about the pink elephant in the room, you know, you're going to fucking think about the pink elephant. So we really need to combat that and turn around and go, well, why, let's not talk about suicide. Let's talk about it.
Normalize the conversation.
Exactly right. Because if you can turn around to a mate, and this is, if anybody gets anything from this, if you can turn around to a mate who, you know, isn't judgmental or anything like that, and he asks, hey bro, how you going? You go, to be honest, man, I'm thinking of killing myself. We can work with that. There's something we can do about that. But if you turn around and say, oh, you know, it's okay, you know, or you're too afraid to ask that question, better yet, we can't work with that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the other thing, people are scared to say that out loud because they're like, oh, well, they're going to think there's something wrong with me, or I'm going to get committed to a mental asylum. There could be knock-on effects from that. And for some men, let's face it, if a man says that who may be separated and has children, you know, he may have his children taken away from him. He's not safe to be around his children. So if someone, I think people are scared of being labelled as, oh, like I'm someone who's going to commit suicide. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you become a risk. Yeah. And then you get risk assessed. So, well, yeah, 100%.
So, Shan, on one of those things, though, with that, what we're also working towards is to try and not use the word commit. with suicide,
Okay,
as though
thank
it's
you.
it's a
Sorry.
crime. No,
Excuse
bro,
me.
don't say sorry. It's
Yeah.
what everyone says, and this is a thing we're trying to change. Like, don't commit as if like it's a mental battle that someone's going through.
Well, what's the proper terminology?
So I'd turn around and people, this is the thing, people are scared to say kill themselves or that and just use just straightforward language like that. Or if I was to, and this is what I wanted to get to, now, Shan, is to turn around and like even a little bit of, I wouldn't say role play, but if I work with someone, right, and I turn around and say, even a mate or anything like that, are you thinking of killing yourself? And they turn around and go, yes. My first thought is I don't turn around and go, oh, fuck, call 000 and completely freak out. But that also comes with experience in saying that. But I'll turn around and go, oh, okay, no dramas. Look, man, have you, like, man or lady, like, do you have a plan? And I'll question, let's talk about it. Okay, no, I don't have a plan. Okay, well, it hasn't been that thought out, but they're having these thoughts. Well, we can work with that. Okay, yeah, I've got a plan. Okay, no dramas at all. Let's chat about it. Just trying to remain as calm as you can. Oh, okay, well, I've thought about this. Okay, no dramas. And then as calm as you can, and again, I've learned this from being absolute all over the place in the past, but as this is happening, being able to go, okay, look, no dramas at all. What we might do for the benefit of you is let's call Lifeline together. I'll be right here with you. Let's call Lifeline and just see what they think so we can get some support because I'm not a professional. And even I do this, man. Like I've been doing this for quite some time and talked to quite a few suicidal people is that I'll be like, okay, no dramas. Like let's call Lifeline, see what they think. Like let's have a chat because what that does as well is that takes the onus off you saying let's call. It's like being a little bit tricky, if you will, is turning around and not saying, let's call 000 straight away. But they give, Lifeline's incredible, be able to give really good advice of, hey, okay, stay with your friend. And if they deem it serious enough, 000, but they can guide you along the way. But the most important thing I'd say is if you are dealing with someone that is suicidal is just to not leave their side. If they've said they've got a plan, anything like that, just stick with them. And if anything, just let them know that, listen, I'm going to hang with you because I love you. Don't say that. Just be, I'm going to be with you because I love you and I care for you. Do you mind if I do this? And try and talk because at that point,
This is really good advice, dude.
thanks, man. A lot of people that I work with that are suicidal aren't going to turn around and fight me and go, no, don't do that, no, don't do that. A lot of them, like, man, I've held hands before, just been like, hey, man, like, I'm here for you, and just sitting next to, like, Luke Connor's, one of my best mates up in Newey that I've talked about. He's got a great story of him sitting on a bed next to someone, just supporting them and being like, hey, we're going to get through this together, because it doesn't necessarily mean straight away that all these bad things, you're going to lose your job, you're just going to do this. You can get the support you need. And Lifeline's really good, like I've said, for being able to turn around and go, well, how about we do this? Have you got a plan? Okay. And you can sit with them and guide them. But, okay, what do we need to do? We can do this together. Because as you're sitting there, you're not feeling judged and you think, my friend next to me's got me. We're going to get through this together.
Yeah. Have you found in your experience, though, that sometimes people are labeling their feelings incorrectly? So they might be labeling themselves as feeling suicidal when really they're just maybe depressed or lacking a purpose in life or struggling to find reasons to live.
Yeah, definitely, Shan. That's where I suppose, and I'm just lucky for my experience with this, is that I would question that and I turn around and if someone does say they're suicidal, I don't just go straight away into panic mode or anything like that, even though it's not a great sign. But you turn around and question that, be like, oh, okay, like what, you're just like thinking of killing yourself. Because there's been times, like great point, Shan, where I've said, you know, and they're like, oh, no, not really. Like, I just don't want, you know, like lifestyle. I don't want to. And you're like, okay, I can pump the brakes a little bit. This is concerning, but I can, you know, we can work through this. And there's another approach for this. Is okay, well, cool. What's on your mind? How can let's chat about this?
Because that's what's concerning to me is those words are so powerful. And I think then people use them incorrectly to describe how they're feeling. But then they use that word and then all of a sudden that word brings a power and an energy to those feelings. And maybe there's a convincing that that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
So that's what I just want to question.
No, so Shan, I would 100% go against that. And look, nothing's ever zero, like nothing's ever 100% like I've mentioned to you. That's just life. However, my experience is that you talking about it isn't going to put no one, I can't say no one, very, very rare chance. The closest thing in my world to zero would be someone getting the idea. People don't just get the idea of killing themselves. A lot of people have a very good appreciation for life, and not that people that want to kill themselves don't. A lot of people, Shan, don't understand that people don't necessarily want to end their life. They want to end the pain.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there's people that have got, sorry, Shan, you go.
No, sorry. And then killing themselves, there's actually an accident.
Yeah.
You know, so they want to end the pain. They don't want to end their life. But then then they accidentally kill themselves.
Exactly, and that's the metaphor we use. Talk to me, bro. Is imagine having a broken arm, a broken leg, or something like having appendicitis, and not going to the hospital for it. It's going to kill. Like I've had a broken arm for like a night or whatever. Like when I was a young bloke, it fucking kills. Like not to compare that, but it's terrible. Like it's annoying. And if I didn't get that in a cast or anything like that, that's what our mental health is. We're just not going into the hospital. You know, we're not necessarily the hospital, but we're not going to get our mental health plan. We're not going to go and see the psychologist or counselor, which is the equivalent of going to the hospital for that broken arm. Like, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a bit broken. Like everyone is in their own way. So it's being able to sit back and go, righto, going in, I'm going to go see the psychologist or counselor and get help, get put together, have a chat with a friend and just escalate it as it needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So good. Like this is the first time I've had this conversation. Because I've had people on the podcast before relay experiences with suicide and people they know who've done that. And again,
you struggled to say it then.
Well, I did, man, and we danced around it, and you've really actually put me out of my comfort zone today. I feel really kind of nervous around you talking about this.
I'm sorry.
No, I haven't been like this in ages, and I feel like I'm just in that mindset of like, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I want to be politically correct and all that shit. But you're the first person to come on here and go, yep, it happens. Here's some strategies. This is what you can do. And I think it's so powerful, man.
Yeah,
Thank you
exactly
so much.
right. I suppose just to close on that, Shan, so that's how to look after a mate that might be struggling. But if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to have a 2-second chat on like how to help yourself, perhaps.
Yes, I'd love to hear that. Go, let's go.
Okay, so I'd just say that if you are struggling and you are that person that's suicidal, it's really important that when you're feeling better to establish what we call a mental toolbox, and that is to have things that you know make yourself feel good and put you in a good mood and lift you up. So, for example, mine's walking around the harbour, playing golf, other things like that. So when I'm feeling shit and I'm having an off day, what are things that make me feel good? Going. And the hardest part about that is taking that first step. But once you put one foot in front of the other, go to the gym or do something positive, your day completely changes and you sit back and thank yourself later like you're a third person. Thank yourself for doing that. And yeah, that's something I'd highly recommend is being able to take that first step and get out of there.
So good. Where are you from, man? Where'd you grow up?
Illawarra.
Right. And how would you describe your childhood?
Yeah, I'm so lucky, man. Like I was blessed. I've had some unique experiences growing up, but I wouldn't change my childhood. I've got an incredibly supportive, mum and dad. You know, I've had really good experiences growing up that have made me the person I am today.
So, like how were your school days when you were growing up as well? Did you have a good time at school?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was one of the rare dudes that actually, I was a bit of a jock. Like I really enjoyed it because I was mostly away for rugby league and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I loved school, man. I went to Eddie Rice. I really enjoyed it. Not everyone can say that, but yeah, I was, until I was about, I've mentioned earlier, I was about 16 or 17 and those intrusive thoughts came in and I didn't have any of the mental health tools or any tools to combat those thoughts, and it completely fucking tore me to pieces, man.
What do you think, what I want to get to is the core of it. I guess that's where I'm going with this is like, what prompted those intrusive
anxiety.
Thoughts? From what?
So from childhood, from experiences growing up, I suppose. I had a fantastic...
So you had a good, safe house?
Yeah, had a safe house.
Fairly happy family?
Yeah, fairly happy family. But as you grow up, you know, you experience things and you go through things. And I was always in a good space. However, over those years, different things had happened to make me a little bit more on edge and more anxious. And I didn't understand anxiety. And I think one really important thing that I like to help people understand is that once you learn about mental health and just gain a little understanding on anxiety, you really understand that it's fucking sucks, it's debilitating, but it's there to keep you alive. It's actually, at some point, you got to thank it, because without it, you'd walk in front of a car or you get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really positive, and that's when I changed my relationship. I had a great psychologist who helped me understand why I was having those thoughts, because I just thought I was a terrible person. I thought I was a fucking villain.
Maybe you had a predisposition to it as well, and I think that's a real thing.
Definitely,
yeah. Because I think that's what I've got, a predisposition to it. Like I was always like quite a nervous kid. I was always like a very sensitive kid. Yeah. You know, maybe an emotional kid as well. So my feelings would get hurt easy. You know, and then I just feel like that's just followed me for my whole life, and then it's built up and built up and built up because I had to learn tools for dealing with difficult situations.
Have you read much into generational trauma?
No, I haven't.
It'd be something that you should.
Oh, actually, no. I lie. A little bit. I do have some knowledge around trauma.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So like generate how it's passed down.
Yeah, it is.
So if you look at,
I mean, my grandfather was both my grandfathers were World War II veterans. You know,
in Papua New Guinea.
No, in the Mediterranean, because my father's Maltese.
What, in Gallipoli?
No.
Also over there, yeah.
Yeah, like he was on a ship he's Maltese. He was Maltese, and my other one, he was so traumatized from the war. He would never ever talk to us about his experiences in the army or in the Navy. He was in the Navy,
and that's the exact same with my grandfather. Is that he? I only was about 8 or 9 when he passed away, but he never talked to my dad, which was his son, about anything. And he was in Papua New Guinea and saw some fucking horrific things because he opened up once to dad about it.
Yeah.
In how many years he knew my dad, he never talked to me, which I was an 8-year-old, fair enough. But never talked about it.
But this is some woo-woo shit. But I kind of feel like that trauma can be passed down through the genes.
I agree.
Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Did you? I mean, you've served.
Yeah, correct.
So did you finish high school?
Yes.
And then you went straight into the army?
My schoolies was Kapuka. Yeah, basic training.
Really?
I was booked in to go to Q1 with the boys. It was going to be an absolute time and a half. And I went down to recruiting. I was like, had my app in and all this. And they said, you leave for basic training in 2 weeks. And I said, but schoolies is in a week and a half. And they said, don't really give a fuck, to be honest with you. This is your schoolies now, kid.
Why did you want to do it? Just didn't know what else to do?
No, man, like I had a few things on the cards, I suppose, but my dad, my grandfather, my brother, like my brother I used to look up to heaps. He was this big army dude who's like 6'2", just like heaps green, and I was like, man, I think that's what I wanted to do. But really, it's just as you get older, Shan, I'm sure you know that sometimes you just do things that are ridiculous and don't fit with who you are.
Okay.
You just do things, I feel, to like, oh, well, this is to people that you look up to, and it's not until you do them and you're like, maybe this wasn't me. But you got to try. Exactly right. You got to try it. Exactly right. And I've made some of the best friends I've ever, like Connor's, for example, some of the best friends I've got, and some of the truest friends I've ever had have come from the army.
Has it made you like better at discipline and managing your life?
Discipline, yeah, yes and no. I suppose I'm not the greenest dude, and I get into trouble. I got into blows because I struggle sometimes to be able to like. I don't even know how to say it without incriminating myself, but I just struggle sometimes to be able to take orders from hierarchy who've got no fucking idea what's going on.
I was going to say, do you struggle with authority?
Yeah, well, no, honestly, man, I don't struggle with authority when things that are coming down make sense and are fair, but within the military, and I'm sure anybody that's a vet is listening to this will understand that that's not the case a lot of the time, and you move sandbags for the case of moving sandbags. Yeah. And I, the things that keep me up at night are thinking about, like, what is this thing that we're doing right now? And, like, we're going through this universe and traveling, blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't just me, man. But like I said, I've, had some incredible times in the military, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, but it's all part of your life journey. I was saying this to a kid at school the other day. He doesn't know what he wants to do with the rest of his life, and I'm just like, while you're young, like, try a bunch of shit out, and whether it's good or bad, at least you'll know that it's for you or not for you.
You know what? Admittingly, Shan, sorry to cut you off, Shan. I was going to say, it actually, in some ways, discipline. Like, it made me, it sounds silly, but do things like make your bed. Just start the days off. And this is, sorry to jump back. No, when I work with people that are struggling, that's one thing that I highly recommend is let's start your day off. Do you make your bed? 99% of the time, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're already setting ourselves up for failure because we're not doing one simple task. And now when you got to aim, don't aim ridiculously high that you want to be CEO of Google. It might sound stupid. Let's aim with making our fucking beds, because once you do that little win for the day, before you know it, you're like, righto, the dishes need to be doing. I'm going to do that. Right, I need to go do my 10,000. You're on a roll. But if you don't make your bed, fuck it.
But it's also it's task completion. You've done something, you've completed it, and you're actually training your brain that, hey, when I do something, I do it properly and I finish it.
You feel good after.
And you feel good.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, I think that's got to be good for you in every aspect of your life. And I have heard the whole bed making thing is a trait of successful people.
Yeah.
They all make their bed the first thing they do when they get out of bed.
I never would have thought, Shan, 15 years ago, I'd get excited about like choosing a vacuum.
Really?
Like, I mean, I love vacuuming. If anybody's struggling, do some. It's so therapeutic. Yeah. I love just getting all the little nicks and knacks. Really? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Done. How clean is that? Eat off this fucking thing. I do sometimes.
Dude, that's where we're different, man. I hate doing that shit. I got ruined by. I was living in Bali for a couple of years, and we had this amazing housekeeper. She became like family. She was family, you know. She just, you know, I just lived this really privileged life where I had someone doing that for me every day. But it's kind of ruined me, you know. Like, I don't make my bed anymore, and the house is dirty. But you know, I'll get back.
We'll chat about that offline.
Thanks. I need you to.
We'll chat about that offline. I got some things.
Thank you, man. I'm open. But listen, I want to ask you, just sort of getting towards the end of it. I've got a question for you. How important is it to have a male role model? And who are your male role models? I think I stumped him finally. Yes.
No, I think with this one, I don't know if you stumped me. I feel that this is an important question to me, and I want to answer this right. You know, I'm not just going to.
Do you like the question, or is it a shit question?
No, I love it. No, I think it's a fantastic question. I think a lot of people need to think about it, but I think it needs to be answered correctly. Like, to give you an idea, me and Connors were over in Ireland, and we met. We'll train at SBG, which is the gym Conor McGregor trains at. And I completely idolised this dude and thought he was the best thing since sliced bread because I just love his confidence. But this was back before he'd done all these terrible things. This is in like 2016 maybe or 17 that we're over there. Anyway, and I met him and he didn't get a pit. Like, I turned around, we're in the gym and there was no one. He was just chilling. And me and Luke turned around and said, hey, man, can we get a picture? Like, completely starstruck. We travelled to Ireland to see, on the off chance we'd see him. We saw him. We couldn't believe it. He went, nah, no pics.
No.
And I was like, oh, really? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, have a good day.
Oh, man.
And ever since then, man, like, it's the old expression, don't meet your role models. But that's just a little thing of that kind of also humbled me and kind of made me realise that you really have to have realistic role models around you of people that you kind of want to be like realistically. Like, I don't want to be like Conor McGregor. So I'd say there's a good one that I'd call for advice constantly. That's Dr. Monty Badami, who's a fantastic mentor of mine, like I said, who gives me some fantastic advice when I need it, and I've worked with a few times who talk to me, bro. My old boy's good. I call him for advice. You know what? Actually, yeah, I've got a few older role models within my life. I'd probably say another two would be, definitely a bloke by the name of Trent Mitchell. He used to be my year coordinator.
I know him.
No way, Trento.
PE teacher.
Yeah, how do you know him?
Yeah, it's really bizarre. I can't believe you said that. What a trip. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him in years. And we're more like acquaintances, but I was friends with his wife's sister.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
He's a top guy.
Oh man, Trento, and like he was my year coordinator at school. Man, we catch up and play golf nowadays.
No
and man, like,
way,
yeah,
dude.
he's just one of those solid. He's a man that I look to when I turn around and I look towards, and I'm like, if I can end up like this guy, good family, got his head, like he's gone through his own stuff, but he's got his head screwed on, and if I need advice, he's there. But he's just a gentleman.
He is.
Those are the people that if I can not be a rock star like Connor or anything like that, but if I can turn around on my deathbed and go, I was a gentleman, I looked after other people and I was just the best person I could be. So I'd say a few of those would be up there. My old boy's a top bloke who's given me some good advice.
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember of Trent, he's just really humble and rock solid, consistent.
He is until you get to be mates with him, and then he's a little arsehole. I tell him up for golf every time, so that's all good.
Oh, you do?
Nah,
I'm sure
it's very even. It's very even.
Would he say that, though?
I don't really care.
Really? Okay. You're on record now. You're on record now.
We're about, I think I've won about 6 times. Trent's run about 5 times. So I'm about one ahead of him.
I just think for boys and men, like, we just really crave a male role model. And if we don't have an immediate one, we'll go and find one. But then in the current world we live in, like, what are the male role models that the average boy or teenager is being exposed to, you know, and that's concerning to me at times because of the fake bullshit that we see day in, day out.
Well, I think there's a massive correlation between people that are people that are really struggling on the street, like not necessarily on the streets, but like, you know, the troubled people you see that always are trying to steal shit and trying to, you know, do things that are really going through their battles. I think, like, you know, and I feel you can be a tremendous single parent as a female and play that, but it's hard to work both roles as the father figure and the mother figure. And I feel that not having that figure in your life, whether it's a father figure or just that mentor where you look towards and you strive towards it. Because even when I was in high school, like and hopefully he doesn't listen to this, but I looked up to Trento and thought, I want to be like that.
Teacher.
You know what I mean?
He was your teacher.
Yeah, he was my high school, but he
See?
wasn't really like, to be honest, he wasn't really like it. He was pretty chill, man. Like he was pretty, like he was a great teacher, sorry, but he was like a mate, man. But
That's cool.
And then, yeah, 100%. But the flip side was I never wanted to fuck up because I always didn't want, because he wouldn't yell for the most part, never heard him yell, but he'd give you that, I'm just fucking disappointed, man. He wouldn't swear, but.
I was going to say, did you swear?
No, he'd never swear. No, he'd never do that. But he'd just give you the disappointed, and like I could get yelled at every
it's
day
the
of the
worst.
week, but I'd be crushed and I'd be in the good books for at least another week, I reckon.
Isn't that the worst when like you're young and someone says, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed?
Oh, 100%.
You want him to be mad?
I prefer to put on the boxing gloves and have a crack.
Yeah.
They'll probably smack him too.
Yeah. I heard a funny thing once, like, hear about the inflatable boy who burst the balloon at the inflatable school or something, and he says, and the principal said, you've let me down, you've let the school down, you've let us all down. It's
That's all.
I don't know. I'm deliriously tired. If you haven't noticed, I'm sorry. But this is why I love the podcast, man, because, you know, it's for, I'm going to relay this to everyone because I guess it's a form of therapy for me now. You know, that's what's really interesting. So for me, I felt like I needed to create a set and setting for a conversation. And by doing this, it forces you to sit down and have a real conversation. And then I find the microphones make you accountable for what you're saying. So you're actually...
It's exhausting. You got to think
Well,
heaps.
you're more measured in what you say. And so I think it's being lost. And then, like you said, if you're out at the pub trying to have a conversation over a few schooners and there's Keno going off in the background and, you know, people scrolling their phones at the same time, like, you're just talking shit.
Yeah.
But I think more real conversations are so necessary.
Oh, 100. And I'll just caveat that quickly. What you said is if you are with a friend that's struggling or anything like that, I just wanted to add a real blokey thing is to grab your mate. Oh, hey, let's go for a beer. I just really, talk to me bros, massively against it.
Yes.
Just because of, you know, you think you're doing the right thing and it's fantastic that you are getting out and creating that step, but adding someone who's depressed with a depressant, it isn't going to end well. So, and even coffee is a stimulant. So even that like can make you more anxious. So I know you probably sit and listen thinking, fuck, well, what do we sit in a tinfoil kind of thing? But no, it's just important to do something positive, like go for a walk or even just go, like even coffee's not the worst thing in the world, but just definitely not a beer.
Coffee fucks me up.
Yeah, and
I've
that's a lot of
quit
people.
coffee recently.
Oh,
Again,
nice.
I've quit coffee numerous times in my life because it fucking alters my mood. And then I guess if you're someone like me who has a tendency to, you know, like having a bit of like an addictive personality, if I like something, you know, I'm having like 3 or 4 of them in a day. And next thing you know, I'm fucking jittery.
And when you're in bed, that your mind can't shut off, hey?
Yeah, and it makes your mind race. And so if you're already like, I remember I was talking to Brett Harriet about it, and he said to him, he won't mind if I say this, he said that his psychologist said to him, why would you want to stimulate an already overstimulated person?
Honestly, I've listened to some, like I remember we were out at Pepe's for like a, because he doesn't drink, we're at Pepe's for like a function of his, and I remember like his coffee order that he wanted me to go get, and I was worried he's going to have a fucking heart attack,
dude.
man. Like, I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And there, his coffee, he's cut down on him quite a bit, but yeah, that's...
Yeah, but I have moments too, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Like, you know, I can't even have a coffee without it fucking me up, you know? So it's like, give us some strategies, like, so exercising with a friend, going for a walk with a friend.
Definitely. Well, there's actually a bit of science behind that. So walking next to someone, passing a footy like next to someone, gives you that feeling of not being alone and that connection of someone's with you. You're right next to, like, I wouldn't recommend going to a bar, definitely not, but like even coffee sitting as opposite someone can be very confronting, where you kind of like, you feel like you're a psychologist and you're the patient and stuff like that. However, if you're just walking along, you're a lot more likely in my practice of what I've been helping people with is that when I do, we'll either go for a walk around the harbour, pass the footy with something that they want to do, obviously, and that kind of creates a side distraction for them to be able to chat and be able to get those things out that they want to talk. And before you know it, you're like, man, I'm really opening up here and saying that rather than just sitting down where you're jittery, because that's the other thing about, you know, anxiety with opening up and things like that. Being able to walk kind of reduces that a little and helps you out in that respect.
Yeah, but I'm glad you said that stuff about the pub, because I felt that a lot over the years in terms of it is part of Australian culture to let's just kind of have a beer and talk about it. Yeah, and I mean, I've just come to believe that. I mean, I don't. You know, people can make their own choices, but I just feel that alcohol definitely will change the context of the situation, especially in a pub setting, and the conversation will not be as real. I mean, alcohol will just kind of, I mean, it's it just creates bullshit conversation.
I'm about to say, just like the liquid courage.
Liquid courage.
It just gives people, definitely, man. I think and people say, drunken words speak sober thoughts. And I don't necessarily, like, there's some ways that, people might be like, but I don't agree with that at all. I feel like, there's a lot of times that you just spin absolute bollocks when you're on the sauce. And I think that's like a massive, and that's a lot of the way that Australians that we're trying to change is Australians like, oh, you broke up with your misso, fuck, let's just go get blind. Well, I mean, you're already really struggling. What is that going to achieve? So you're hungover, you've done drugs and you've still got this problem. At the end of the day, you're just putting things in front of the problem. Once you take those things away, the problem is still there. Like, I'm trying to just stop drinking altogether. Like, I don't have a problem with it, but I just don't like the person it turns me into when I do have too many drinks. But not that I do drink that often. But I just trying to go to zero, to be honest.
But maybe like part of your journey is you're realizing it's just not serving you and not conducive to the life you want to live.
No, man,
and that's what I got to too. It's like I'm not against it, and I just got my parents a bottle of wine, today as a gift, but I'm just like, for me, I want to live my best life, and that wasn't going to do it for me.
And especially wasting a day hungover, or like now it's a few days. The older you get, it's not a day anymore.
100%.
Like you go out on like I went out Friday and had a great time with the boys, but Saturday was written off. Yeah. And I'm like really trying to get lose the COVID weight and trying to go to the gym and that. And man, it shit me because I was just so unmotivated. I just sat down and watched The Office. Now, not that there's anything wrong with that.
How good's The Office?
Fucking fantastic.
I only just got into The Office.
No way.
But I binged it for like a couple of months and watched every episode of every season.
It's the most watchable show. So I've watched it about 6 times now.
What? Back to front,
every
season,
back,
every episode.
Dude,
that's weird.
I'm telling you now, if you would ask any of these listeners right now about The Office, guarantee you that's minimum. Those are rookie numbers.
Dude, I cried laughing. I haven't done this in years when Michael Scott was trying to kiss the gay guy in The Office. At the meeting,
for equality.
to prove that he wasn't gay, and to show that he was accepting of homosexuals. Oh fuck! I mean,
he gets himself into mischief quite sometimes. Old Michael Scone.
Don't you reckon the last season went a bit off, like a bit. It wasn't as good.
Honestly, man. So the first 3 times I watched it, I never watched past when Michael left.
Yeah,
because I just thought to myself, I didn't want to watch because for him, like I thought it was scripted perfectly, but he was the show for me. Like just so fucking funny, man. My missus actually doesn't like it. I can't believe. I said to her, which could be a bit of a thing. I said, if you don't like it, we can't get married. And all of a sudden, she's like fake laughing and said, "Oh my god, Michael Scott's sick."
See, that's what it takes. That commitment. You got to be selfless.
Yeah.
But like, does she like Seinfeld? Do you like Seinfeld?
No, she likes fucking Friends.
Friends.
Yeah.
You know what? Podcast is over. No, I seen a really funny meme the other day. Kanye West was holding up a piece of paper and it was like a meme, and it's like, Seinfeld is better than Friends or something like that. Like,
100%. And we've seen ones about like The Office being better than Friends. But look, we make it work. Make it work, man.
I mean, it's not a deal breaker.
No,
or is it?
It's close.
Yeah.
No, it's not. She watches Friends and I do my own thing.
Yeah, man.
Meditate.
Do you? Is it daily routine for you?
I wouldn't say daily. I probably do it 3 or 4. Like Wim Hof breath work, I do 3 times a week to keep it fresh. Every day, man. It's because it's a workout doing it.
Oh, no.
So, I do it about 3 times a week, I'd say. And then I do cold water at least. Well, I have a cold bath, I know, every Friday down at the lagoon at 6 a.m. for anybody that's keen for a free coffee and free ice bath.
Do you actually take the ice baths down there?
Yeah, man. Got 3 portable ones, 2 or 3 portable ones. A good friend Ryan lend to us.
I think there's a real calling for it. Again, when I was in Bali, there was this place that just had ice plunge pools and a sauna right next to them, and a
great mixture.
And a spa, and then like every day after work, it was just doing the hot and cold therapy, like sauna, ice bath. Do about 5 rounds of that, and it was just never felt so healthy. But I've learned some new science about the ice baths. Have you heard of the vagus nerve?
Correct. Yeah.
So it relaxes the vagus nerve, or I guess it causes it to restrict because the vagus nerve actually covers a lot of your organs. It's the largest nerve in the body. So when you actually release the vagus nerve, which is actually attached to your brainstem, that's why it's causing this feeling of real relaxation and calm. So it's legit. It's not just like, And
that's one of the best ways that we use it to get guys that are real, being real intrinsic and going within themselves, to get out of their head, is to put them in an ice bath. One of the really successful ways that, for people with anxiety is to put their, I don't know the method exactly, but to put their head in ice water. And that is to be able to essentially, because similar to what you were saying, but it completely puts you in the now because your body goes into survival even though it's fine, but you go from having these bad thoughts, you're feeling down or anything like that. But as soon as you hop in there, all that goes away for me because you're like, fuck, like I got to survive, and then you feel alive.
Yeah,
you might have felt down, you might have felt, not felt anything perhaps, but then once you hop in that ice bath, game on.
You know what I can't do though, and I still do it just out of because I've got no other option sometimes, is I can't do cold showers. Like I can hop in an ice bath, no worries, and freak out and go, oh, it's freezing. But for some reason, like a cold shower, especially in the middle of winter, I just cannot bring myself to get under.
I reckon you can do it.
I do it. I've done it, but I just something about
the easiest way to do that, the same with ice baths?
What's that?
Trick yourself into it. I finish off my showers with that. So as I'm about to turn it off, so I'll just turn around, go hot, but then as I'm I don't prepare for it. See, I don't turn around and go, I'm going to do a cold shower now because I learned another good expression the other day is paralysis by analysis. And what that means is the more you analyse it, the more paralysed you get and the less likely you are to do it. So one really good way of doing it is just fucking do it. And that's how I do my ice baths. People are like, Jack, how do I do this? Is there, you don't shake your hand 3 times, do the hokey pokey, and it's not going to be cold. It's freezing, but it's about the ice doesn't suck. We do. We need to overcome that. So it's the same. So honestly, man, for my cold showers, don't plan them in the middle of winter. I just turn around. I've got this real good Om mantra going in the background of the speaker, and bang, I'll just be like out of nowhere, boom,
Dude.
John Cena.
John Cena.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, never mind. I don't get it. That was embarrassing. I thought you would have liked that one.
Sorry, I'm out of it. Did I miss it? Did I miss it?
Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry, man.
I'll show you after this.
Yeah, like I said, I had this weekend, I just had very little sleep not because I was out partying for various reasons. I had some things to take care of and I'm just a bit tired today, but you get that, you just push through. But I wanted to mention one more thing around the ice bath stuff. Yeah, it's been the biggest game changer for me in terms of just reducing anxiety. Yeah, and I hope anyone else there that hears this.
Try it out. Yeah, I definitely would recommend trying it out.
And paralysis by analysis,
correct.
Yeah. And I love that because there's another thing I really work off is thinking just brings about more thinking, but it's only action brings about change, Yeah. So you can think about it. Oh, Dane, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but just sometimes you just got to jump in and just take action and then reevaluate, Don't just sit there idle and go, I've got to get it all perfectly worked out in my head before I take action.
And on our Snowy Mountains retreats that we've run before, that's what we do. And that's what I say is don't think, just join in, give us a big group hug. Let's go on the ice. Let's go on the ice water. Let's go. Don't think about
Snowy River?
Yeah, Snowy River. Yeah, it's the same thing to and we're talking winter, minus degrees in the water because it's a stream. And anytime we're doing ice bars, it's next in, no thinking, because the more you think, and I learned that early because I sucked at it to start with. I still don't love ice bars. There's no secret to it. But the key for me within mental health to anybody that's listening is it's different strokes for different folks, and it might be good for me. Ice bars might work for us, might not work for you, but you know what might work for you could be the breath work. It might be going for a walk, something that doesn't work for me. So it's just keeping an open mind and understanding that never say I've tried everything.
Yeah.
That's not the case. You haven't tried everything. There will be something out there that can work. Just about keeping an open mind and keeping to look for that one thing.
Dude, another amazing message, man. It's been epic. And
we appreciate you thinking of me, man. Thank you.
I'm so stoked. And listen, I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause that they want to support or advocate for. I know in your instance, it's very obvious it's the Talk to Me Bro initiative, but do you have something else for us that you'd like to advocate for?
So yeah, we're working closely with Lifeline. So that's the only other thing I'd say, because we work within suicide, but we're more of a peer, kind of guided. But the work that Lifeline does is invaluable. They're 24 hours, 131114. I would really recommend if you can support them in any way, because they support us in a lot of ways. So I definitely recommend, if you can support Lifeline, or even just understanding that they're always there for you. There's a ton of numbers there for you. And if you don't know how to get a mental health plan, That's easy. Check it
Yeah.
out.
And that's in Australia, Lifeline, and whatever part of the world you're in, I'm sure there'd be a very similar service. So look it up. We have, lots of access to researching these things, and maybe just Google Lifeline and see what happens in your country. So I guarantee there'll be someone there that wants to listen to you. And I'm going to say this at the very least, send me a DM on my social medias, and I will respond to you if you're feeling like that. And I'm sure Jack would do the same if you reached out to him. So there are options, and you're never alone.
Yeah, definitely. If you reach out to talk to me, bro, we'll be able to guide you best we can. We're not mental health professionals, but we can try and guide you with experience and put you with the right people that can help, because you're never alone, and it's a rough patch, not a rough life.
Oh, yes. So if you scroll down on this episode, you'll find a link to the Talk to Me Bro website initiative. I'll put a link in there to Lifeline. And, whatever platform you like to listen to this podcast on, it always helps if you subscribe and leave a review. You can find the podcast not only on terriblehappytalks.com, but it's also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Podcast Addict, Overcast. There's a whole bunch of different platforms, but whatever one you like to listen to, yeah, it always helps to do the whole subscription thing. I appreciate your support. And if you don't do those things, I'm just stoked you listen, so thank you. And next thing, man, I got a present for you. It's in my bag. I got a Terrible Happy Talks t-shirt.
Love that.
I like to give all guests a gift.
Thank you.
Our sponsors of the podcast have been long-time sponsors. Indosol. They were also giving out shoes, but we're just at the moment, I've had a really chaotic life, so we've just put that on the hold for now, but we can talk about that. I might be able to hook you up with some shoes as well. But, yeah, man, that's about it, dude.
That's it. No, thank you.
So,
I think I'll speak on behalf of everyone and say thanks, Shan, for having this incredible podcast, because these conversations are what's going to change the stigma. And even though it might not seem like it, these conversations change lives, man. So keep being you, and we love and appreciate you.
Thank you. Mr. Jack Brown, everybody. You.